What's going on, guys? I know it's been a while since I've put anything on the channel. Couldn't really even tell you what my last video was or when it was, as I've not looked recently. But I know it has been a while, so I figured I'd break that streak tonight and put up a quick video for you. And I know I've been posting a little bit on the Instagram from time to time. Obviously not all of it's shop or knife related, but this one kind of will be. So we'll get off my ugly mug here for a minute and show you what I got here. It's very simple, very basic. What you're looking at here is a coolant mister or a misting coolant system, and something I've been wanting to do for a while. Recently kind of got a little bit of motivation from a Blade Forums thread about wet grinding, and the topic was actually whether or not sharpening on a grinder could potentially ruin your edge. And I'm not going to say I've ruined every knife I've ever made, since pretty much all of them have been sharpened on a belt grinder and then some, but well, I don't think I've ruined my knives. I'm always willing to kind of take a step back, see if things can be done better. So that's what we're going to try to see if we can find out, hopefully in the future with this. And, if I can get a little better edge, or kind of do myself some favors on the other machines as far as keeping cutters and bits and things like that cooled down. Personally, I'm all for it. So I put this together. I think I've got maybe about $50 wrapped up into it all together. I already had the regulator and some of the fittings, so you might take that into consideration, although you really don't even need the regulator. You could probably get away with line pressure, although this just gives me a little bit more control. I'm not relying solely on these little adjustment screws. And I think this poly hose is only rated for about 90 psi anyway, and I could have 90 to 100 coming out of my compressor at any given time anyway. So that's just to kind of simplify things, give a little bit more adjustment on that end. And then I've just got this magnetic base. That, of course, is optional as well. This can be directly mounted wherever you might more continually use it. I wanted something that was portable. I've got mills, drills, grinders, saws, any number of things in the shop that this could be used for. The lathe, you name it. It could probably stand to be cooled down from time to time. And not only do you get a little bit more life out of your cutting tools, your tool bits, things like that, but you could potentially get a little bit more precision and some nicer cuts as well, and nicer finishes. Now, this is not a flood coolant by any means. That is just a mister, and I'll just kind of pick a random adjustment here. And this can also be used just straight air. If you're dry cutting something, you want to keep the chips or the dust off. This is really useful for that. I know a lot of times I'm cutting micarta or even steel. I wouldn't mind this on my bandsaw just to keep the dust off the blade. But you could turn that up and down, and then just add what I got now is just some water in a bottle. And you can see it's got a nice mist. Probably even a little bit more than I would need for something like a belt grinder. So that can be turned up and down. And I think you can even adjust this tip a little bit and kind of change things there a little bit. But again, between the screws, the regulator, the tip, I'm sure there's a number of different ways I can adjust that and dial it in just to how I need it. And, that may also change depending on the coolant, the viscosity, and things like that too. So I'll have to play around with that some. Right now I'm just going to be testing it with water for wet sharpening knives on the belt grinder. And again, I will definitely be using the air, just the air only, for things like my bandsaw or even drilling, things like that, where I need to see what I'm doing a little bit better. So I got this magnetic base. It's just kind of an on and off thing. Right now I've just got a short length of hose. I've got another 20 or 30 feet. I'll probably change that out with, just so I can leave this regulator somewhere farther away and just have to kind of deal with the magnet, which again you could turn on and off. I could turn this way. So pretty versatile there. You can go on round, flat, whatever surfaces. It's just a dial indicator holder. Ended up taking the articulating arm off of one and just mounting a little aluminum block there, drilled and tapped for some 832 screws, number 8 screws, just to mount that block on there. You got your suction line, your main air coming in, which in this case is regulated, push to connect fittings, that's 8mm line, and that's pretty much it. I think this cost about 18 bucks for the manifold. I want to say the magnet with the articulating arm was about 15 or 20. And I already had the regulator and the fittings. The hose, I think I got 30 or 40 feet for 10 bucks, give or take. And then I do want to get a gallon of Cool Mist, which I forget how many gallons that makes. I think it's like a 4-to-1 or a 5-to-1 dilution, maybe more. But that's about 40 bucks for the gallon. So all in all, less than 100 bucks, you can have a nice misting coolant setup for any one of your machine tools. And you know, even if you just want to use a little bit of water for something like wet grinding, or just the air for keeping the dust down or out of your tool path, it can certainly be useful for that. So nice and portable, not too big and bulky, and should be pretty useful for the shop. So I just figured I'd show that to you guys. I know there ain't a whole lot of action in the video. As I start using it, I'll try to take some more pics, maybe another YouTube video or an Instagram post. But for now, I just wanted to show that to you guys if anybody else wanted to make something similar. It really didn't take hardly any time at all. Obviously the hardest part there is just mounting this to some kind of holder, and you can do that, of course, any number of ways. So there it is, guys. Appreciate the views and any comments or likes. So we'll see you on the next one.